Hi everyone, it's Danny. Okay, so today we'll discuss about how I managed to keep all of these orchids in the same room, although they have different requirements. My viewer Ferncrafts has asked me to make a video on the subject, and I have to say I think I talked about this a long time ago, but I simply cannot find the video. So I must have discussed about it in a different video, just as a side note. If it's a repeat, please excuse me, but it was just such a long time ago that I really don't remember if I ever said anything about how I managed to keep them in the same room. Alrighty, but before we go on to the subject, because many of you have posted your Valentine's Day presents, I'd like to post mine as well because it just arrived and I'm super hyped about it. Now my present is not an orchid, it's something way cooler than that. I'm just kidding. It's my very own TARDIS mug. I'm so happy, and this is because I am such a huge Doctor Who fan. So my boyfriend decided to ask me what I actually want for Valentine's, and I told him this. So he got it for me, and it just arrived from Amazon. So now in the morning time, when I reply to your comments, the TARDIS will give me the strength of the universe, so I can give you the best answers possible. Yeah, what can I say? I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. Alrighty, let's get back to our orchids. Alrighty, so first things first, I don't try to keep orchids that I know will struggle in my conditions. For this reason, I don't have Draculas or Masdevallias too much. I might try them in the future, never say never, but I just know that with many of them, I will have to struggle, and I don't want to harm the orchid and stress myself out with these things. So I try to buy stuff that I know I can find a suitable place or as close as possible to a suitable location for it. And as you know, I do have quite a lot of species, but all of them do okay in my environment with a few changes. Now in the winter time, it doesn't really matter that much because the sun is just so low, and also the days are short and everything is really gloomy, so it doesn't really matter if I have a Paphiopedilum standing in direct sun because the sun is just not powerful, temperatures are low. So in the winter time, it really doesn't matter so much how I position them, but I'll tell you some basic ideas or general ideas on how I try to arrange them so that they get what they actually need. So as you can see, or as you may know, my balcony is pretty narrow and long, and I have an eastern exposure that side, a southern exposure, and a western exposure there. So sun comes out from the back and actually goes down there. I have sun practically all day, so I'm lucky in this respect actually. If I wouldn't have this location, most probably I will not keep a lot of the orchids that I keep today, like Vandas and so on. So, judging from the way the sun starts to hit my balcony, I know that I need to place my Vanda orchids in the brightest location that I can. One Vanda sits there because of space reasons, but it does get eastern and southern sun, which is nice. Most of them, though, are hanged here, and this is because this is a pure southern exposure, and next to the window they get the most light they absolutely can. Of course, here I have some other stuff as well, like a Cattleya, which likes bright light. Also, I placed the Tolumnia here as well. Alrighty, other than that, I try to place them on levels. Now, the upper level usually does not get direct sunshine. It is bright, but it does not get direct sunshine. Maybe they receive sunshine only in the morning and late evening because of the other sides of my balcony. So usually on the top, I place Miltoniopsis hybrids or Miltonia hybrids, or just stuff that don't necessarily require that much light, Phalaenopsis and so on, and they seem to do quite well. Going lower, I try to place orchids that do require some bright light but don't necessarily require direct full sun. And I do have some Callias here as well. They might get moved lower in the summertime, but for now the sun really hits this part, so they're practically good there. Mostly Oncidiums, though, on the second layer here, they do very, very well. Even though they might not get direct sunshine for too many hours, it's still enough for them because it is bright light. Okay, going lower than this, I have here stuff that don't necessarily require bright light either, and in the summertime, I don't know how, but this side really does not get any direct sunlight because the placement of my balcony makes it so that eastern light in the morning does not hit this region. Western light barely hits it, even though it might hit this level. This level is pretty shady, so I'm trying to keep here some Paphiopedilums. I have the Nelly Eiler there. Right now it does receive light, but in the summertime, which is crucial, it doesn't necessarily have direct sunlight. So I try to place here the orchids that do great without sunlight. This layer usually gets sunlight because of the southern exposure somehow. And I try to place here the orchids that require bright light, like a Cattleya, the Epidendrum, the Cycnotus, and so on. Some orchids that do require bright light. Even some Oncidiums, everything is okay. They do get some direct sunshine as well. I do shelter them in the summertime from direct noon sun and so on. But this is just how I try to arrange them. And downstairs, they usually don't get direct sunshine, neither in winter nor in the summertime. So I usually place here the Miltoniopsis. I know you didn't see them in a long time, but they really suffered this summer while I was gone. But the benefits of placing Miltoniopsis here is that they don't receive direct sunshine, and also because it's lower, they have lower temperatures. Warm air rises to the top, while the floor of my balcony is pretty cold. This actually works in winter as well. I don't try to place Cattleyas or anything like that downstairs because it is very cold. But stuff like Miltoniopsis and cold growing orchids, they do very well downstairs. And that's pretty much it when it comes to light. It's not ideal. I mean, I don't go overboard with trying to provide exactly the stuff they need. They seem to do well. They're very forgiving. As I told you, I don't necessarily buy orchids that are really hard to keep. And when it comes to humidity, usually in the winter time, I don't use my humidifier because it is really humid. Right now we have 56%, but it can be more than this in the winter time. I can have over 70% humidity. Now in the summertime I don't have that much humidity, but I do try to place my humidifier somewhere there. And usually here I keep the stuff that requires more humidity. But you know what? I did discover that many of my orchids are not really that fussy when it comes to humidity, especially if I use sphagnum moss, which provides humidity. This works really good in my environment actually, as long as I use it wisely and don't overdo it. But other than that, I really don't stress that much with humidity, simply because I do try to provide it, but you know, I'm not stressing that much anymore. Alrighty, so in the summertime as well, many of my orchids disappear from this balcony, like the Dendrobium nobilis and also my Cymbidiums and some other Dendrobiums. They actually go in my other balcony. I have a smaller balcony which is right there. It's the kitchen balcony. Now that balcony is a bit unsheltered, let's call it like that. In the summertime it can get pretty hot, while in winter it can get really cold. So that's why I move everything back in this balcony, because that balcony can actually get to freezing conditions. But in the summertime I actually move some orchids from this balcony to the other balcony, so stuff gets a bit rearranged once again. But for the main part, yeah, I do try to resolve the light issue by placing orchids on levels, as you can see. I really like this idea of actually hanging orchids, especially like this. As long as I make sure they don't drip from the top to the bottom, everything is okay and they seem to do okay. So basically that's how I keep them in the same room all the time. Now regarding temperature, well, it's pretty obvious that the locations in my balcony which receive more light and more direct sunshine will be warmer than the ones that do not receive bright light. And I'm sorry about that. My pigeons are going crazy on the windowsill. Alrighty, so it's pretty obvious that the stuff that don't require that much bright light will get lower temperatures. I usually use the humidifier as a source of lowering temperature, as well as the AC in my house and so on. So basically I'm trying to keep a maximum of 28 degrees Celsius during daytime and nighttime, as low as it can go. But sometimes in summertime it's really hard to have low temperatures in nighttime. So that's how I do things. It's not ideal. I'm trying not to go really overboard because I would kill the hobby for me, but I am trying to do the best that I can with the orchids that I have, and as I said, they're not fussy orchids. The fussiest ones I think are the Miltoniopsis, which indeed suffer last summer. I'm sorry, girls. I won't leave you again. So yeah, that's basically it. As long as you learn a little bit about your orchid and try to find that location in your house which will suit it as best as you can, I think the orchid will help you as well. Most of the hybrids you can find are really suitable for windowsills and home growing. There are other orchids that will not do so great in a home, but I don't have those orchids. or I don't know if I do, but everybody seems to be okay-ish so far. I'm still researching other species. So okay, this was the answer to your question. If you have other suggestions or questions for me, just leave me a comment, but please make sure in your G+ settings that people outside your circles can reply to you. Otherwise, I cannot reply. If you want to see more videos from me, don't forget to subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter as well, and you have the link below. Thank you for joining. I'll see you next time. Bye!